Hi, everybody, and welcome to our review of the basic shapes in three-point perspective. This is going to be the last form of perspective that we're studying in class. We did 1 point, 2 point, and now we're on 3 point, and this is really going to, in a way, complete our series of studying these types of perspectives. And then after week 3, we're really just going to apply them into drawings and, just add a few new ideas like shadows and ellipses and a few other things. But the basic modules of perspective will be completed at the end of this week. So I always like to say at this point that, you've really learned the most important things in the class. And now it's just going to be applying them into drawings. So I also like to say too that at this point, if you are feeling just a little bit shaky on any one of the perspective forms, and of course we're just starting 3 point, so you're going to be learning this, and I don't expect you to really know this thoroughly at this point, but I would just say that really continue to practice the perspective forms 1, 2, 3 point, whenever you can, just drawing basic shapes on a piece of paper, while you're waiting somewhere. Anytime you can do that, just because the more you can really integrate these, the the easier the rest of the drawings in class will be, because we'll be practicing them, and you'll just feel a lot more comfortable. Okay, so let's get started. 3 point perspective is, I think, a really interesting form of perspective because it kind of has a sort of a different quality than the 1 and 2 point perspective. It's a little more, I think it pulls the viewer in a little bit more into the space because of the kind of more of the sense of being, all the lines are more dynamic. There's no just sort of parallel lines at this point. The only real difference between 3 point though and 2 point is, all really 3 point is 2 point perspective, which, as you remember, is like standing at an angle to a shape. But the only difference in 3 point is that we kind of go up higher and lower so that we start to see the vertical lines actually converge. So that's the only difference, is our relationship to the shapes, that we're now going to be up high or down low. So keep that in mind. I know it gets a little more confusing with 3 point, with the extra points, that extra point. And sometimes I know when I was studying 3 point perspective, I'd have to really work on trying to figure out where everything converged to. And I think that's the main thing in 3 point, is trying to get all of that worked out. Um, okay, so we're going to start with you, Brianna. I'm going to open up your drawings separately here. Just one thing, keep in mind that you just want to save these as JPEGs. It just makes it a little bit easier. But otherwise, I think your presentation looks good in terms of your photograph or your scan. It's nice and easy to see. Okay, so this is your worm's eye view, low down, and this looks good. I think everything looks correct in terms of vanishing to the correct places. So the only thing I would say here is, maybe add a few more shapes in here. The assignment asks you to have a minimum of 4 shapes and to fill the page. So I'd really encourage you to maybe just add a few more. You've got a little space in here you could add, or maybe up here. It's always just like the other perspective forms. It's good to sort of stay a little further away from your vanishing points. And also, when we are in 3 point perspective, it's good to kind of stay uh, avoid kind of crossing the horizon line too much. So you've done a good job with that. So maybe you've got a little space in here and here. You can just sort of put in a few more things. For your bird's eye view, okay, overall I think this looks pretty good. I think maybe this shape in here, hold on a second here. What am I opening? This shape in here, I think you might just want to revisit. I think maybe there's a little bit of wonkiness happening there. So um, sometimes I find it really helpful to compare it to the other shapes. Like here we are. So this side here of the shape is going back to this point, and the same thing's going to happen here. So this is correct, but this line here right here. So this line here is actually going to go back here to this side. And I think, see, I think this side is, let's just do all of these. I think so. I think you just want to, this looks right, that's good. And then this side, so that looks right. So this is just going to end there. And I think here and here is right. And I think the other problem you have is with the vertical. So by vertical, I mean these lines here, which used to be vertical. These are all going, anything that used to be vertical, like standing straight up and down, is now going to that bottom point. So this looks right. These other sides here, this looks right. So this line here is going to be ending here. And then this line here, this back line right here is going to go here. So I would just reconstruct that one. You know, and again, sometimes I think that certain parts of a drawing can be harder than others, just conceptually. And so just like I've mentioned in previous critiques, if you find this area of your drawing difficult to kind of conceptualize in perspective, just flip your drawing over. Just literally flip it over and just use the same vanishing points. Sometimes that can be a lot easier. And then I would just say, you know, maybe add a few more shapes in here, fill the page a little bit more, you know, so you just take advantage of the space. Katie, yeah, I think you mentioned, what did you say in there? That I wanted to, when the shapes I wanted to draw came close to the left and right sides of the paper, things can get a little challenging. That is so true, because things start to really distort when you get close to vanishing points. So it just looks a little weird, you know, so that's really normal. But I think you did a really good job here. Everything looks really good. This one looks really nice. I like how you've added some additional shapes in here. Got an extra shape in here, which looks great. And this one, I like the stacking that you created in this one. It all looks, yeah, all converging correctly. So, you know, you could maybe add another shape or two in this one just to fill the space a bit more. Maybe add something up here. Or I like the way you divided this up. That looks really good. Let's see here. Just make sure too that you want just half of the shapes to be see-through. And I think you've got pretty much all the construction lines in your guidelines. So it's just a matter of picking half of them and just showing that back area of your shape. You can just darken them the same, you know, to the same darkness. Like, for example, here, you would just darken this, this, and this. Just approximately half of your shapes. Okay, I think your presentation looks really good. It's nice and clear, and easy to see everything. Gerald, let's see, what did you say here? I enjoyed doing the bird's eye view, but I think that all my shapes need to be below the horizon line. You know, they can actually be above or below the horizon line. It doesn't matter so much. Sometimes it gets a little harder, you know, a little harder to draw over the horizon line, but it's fine. Yeah, this looks good. I like all the different shapes you have created. They look good. You've got some of your shapes that are see-through. Everything looks very accurate. Yeah, that looks good. And then this one too looks really good. Nice job. Yeah, I would say, so I think your comprehension is really good here. And I would just say, maybe in terms of craft, you know, I think your craft is good. The lines maybe, your guidelines maybe are, I don't know, it's okay. Maybe the lines could be darkened a little bit more evenly, you know, just to sort of try to tidy it up. It's not a, I don't think it's, I think it's good. And you know, I've mentioned probably your presentation before that you could probably Photoshop it to remove the yellow, um, but it's clear and in focus, and so that's definitely good as well. Okay, maybe those two things if you wanted to change anything, but otherwise I think this looks really good. Okay, getting more contrast. I know. I think that's it's something you've been having some issues with, right? Um, if uh, if this is the so I just did a little tiny Photoshop thing here where I just did an auto contrast to see, and that does help a little bit, right? So you could do that. Um, and you can see here that maybe it's too that there's a little bit of darkness on your drawing, and I suspect, I'm not 100% sure, but I suspect that it's maybe you just need more light in your environment when you take your image. Sometimes taking something outside is the best because you can often get a lot more light that way, and it can be a lot more even. So that might be something to try. Um, but it's definitely better with the auto contrast. And that's under image. I just use go out right directly under the image menu. Otherwise, I think this looks good. I love the house that you added. That's awesome. The house, because the house is interesting because it's really the same what you did here with the construction method. It's exactly the same for 3-point as it was for 2-point. So, yeah, I think this looks good. And let's look at your other one here. Yep, that looks really good too. Nice job. Uh, I would just say maybe on this one, just this one is see-through, which is great. Maybe just pick another one to make a little more see-through. Just emphasize the lines just a little bit more. The lines, in the back, like if you pick this one, just kind of darken these lines, so you just get at least one more shape that's see-through. And okay, nice job. Yeah, yes, definitely. The practice of the past assignments, it really is about leading up to the 3-point perspective. Every step of what we've done previously has been making it possible to do this particular drawing. The lines got confusing. I know, they really do, don't they? Oh, wow. Okay, you'd had some, that's great that you were able to troubleshoot your power. Boy, that's tough. Well, yeah, it's good that you're able to do that. I think that, working online, you always have to be prepared to have some kind of backup plan in place when something happens. Um, yeah, so let's just take a look here. That looks really good. Yeah, you did a house too. Fantastic. Yeah, everything looks really good here. And then this one. Wow, that looks amazing. Yeah, really nice job. I love how just involved this gets. Um, you know, how all of the overlapping shapes, you get such a wonderful sense of space and the see-through parts of it. So yeah, these look great. Nice job. I don't see anything here that needs to be revised. Rebecca. Yeah, I do. I just really, the 3-point it is challenging. It does take some time to really get it. I think you just need to really go slow, but I don't know. I think you really got this. This looks pretty good. Everything looks accurate. And like you did the house, that's great. And then here, this looks really good too. Um, I would just say, even though you actually don't need to make a symmetrical roof, I do think that making a symmetrical roof, makes it look a little nicer. And that it is symmetrical. Look at that. It's just, I think let's see what's going on here. I think that's what can you see here? So this is almost lined up, but you've got it just a little bit angled, so that's going to line up there. Let me just get this line up here a little bit wider. And then this line is going to line up here, which you have. Hold on a sec, this didn't quite take. And then this line here is going to line up here. So it looks like you just want to line that up. And then I think your roof is going to look symmetrical. I think that was the issue there. What I would just say, so I think you did a nice job here at comprehension. Um, And let me just see. I think maybe this one is a little bit, maybe something's happening with this one too. I'm going to just sort of aim it for the vanishing point down here somewhere, even though I can't quite get it. I think you might just want to take a look at, well, maybe it's just the angle here. Sometimes things play tricks with you when you're in 3-point, so maybe that is accurate. So I would just say for yours that it's sort of a matter of the craft of it. It is a little wonky, and when you're learning something and having to go over it, it can get that way. It gets a little bit messy. So I might just start these again. You could use the same composition if you like this shapes in the same place, and just redo it, drawing the lines a little bit more accurately, just light guidelines, darkening your edges, make sure that half of them are see-through. I think that's the most important thing here. It's just tidying it up a little bit. You don't have to shade anything, and in a way I wouldn't bother shading for this particular assignment. That way you can see things as they're see-through. Okay, that's it. Sabrina, that's okay. You can feel free to hate an assignment. I think that's totally, in a way, I think in design school, if you're not at some point really challenged, then I just don't know what you're getting out of it, because I do think that it is just normal to have a lot of these things that we do be very challenging, because these are, conceptual things that we're doing, conceptual leaps. I certainly was often very overwhelmed and had to work through things, and maybe I never really learned to like them, and that's okay too. Um, okay, so let's just see here. Okay, that looks good. Let's just let me just open this in Photoshop. I only think I see everything looks good here. I think the only maybe thing here is the door. I would probably just make it parallel. So I think it's just, let's see, well, maybe I think it's just a tiny bit off here. So this side of the door would come down straight, and then this side, the top, so here and here and here, this is where it would converge to. So it'd be a little bit more, I think this side looks pretty good, like that. I think that's the only thing there. I think that I might have even, I think mine is a little bit off too, but that's sort of approximate. This looks good. Yeah. I would just make half of these see-through. And I think you're good with that one. Let's take a look at the other one. Cool, I love these houses. They look great. This one looks pretty good too. Yeah, I think this looks really good. I don't think I really even... So I would just, for the see-through one, if this is going to be see-through, I would just sort of darken this edge here. I would just go through and make this see-through, and then pick one other one to make see-through. And I don't think I see anything else here. Yeah, I think they look good. So let's see here. I think overall, both your drawings look pretty good too. Let's just open this in Photoshop. Yeah, I think it looks this looks good. Yeah, nice job. So you've got you've really added an extra shape, which is good. And I would just say maybe it's just for maybe craft and presentation. I might tweak this in Photoshop to kind of make it a little bit more accurate to the white of the background, and then maybe even up your lines a little bit, especially in the ones that are supposed to be see-through. Make sure you darken them a little bit more. Just kind of make your lines look a little bit more, clean. And I would say same thing with this one. It all looks, I think your comprehension looks really good. Make sure half your shapes are see-through. Tidy up your presentation. And I think that's it. I think looks, oh yeah, nice job. Yeah, don't worry about merging the files into one. I know the assignment directions say to do that, but in some ways it's better to have them separately anyhow, because when you merge them, sometimes the size gets a bit small. So I just tend to ignore that instruction myself. And you can too. I think it's not a bad thing to do. Okay, yeah, this looks good. And let's just look at the other one. Yep, that looks good too. Yeah, so I would just say the only thing is maybe just add a few more shapes. 4 is the minimum, and maybe add a few more. You could maybe add a few up here, maybe. And same thing here. Maybe add a few more shapes. Maybe just darken the ones that are going to be see-through. The lines just a bit more, just like you have done here. This is great right there. So that's maybe use that to darken that one as well. Okay, I think you're in good shape, and your presentation looks excellent. Bruce. All right, yeah, this looks good. Nice. And this looks good too. Yeah, both of them I think are very accurate. And maybe in this one, just make sure that you've got half your shapes are see-through. And, the assignment says to fill the page. So maybe you could add a few more. I mean, you definitely have added more than 4, which is great. But if you do see any areas of a little bit of space where you could put something in, you could. And again, just make sure you started to make this one see-through right here, this shape. So I would just go ahead and maybe make this one see-through here, right? So we can see through both these shapes. Okay, I think that's it. All right, everybody. I think everybody's done a really good job on this assignment. And I feel confident that you're really getting this. So that's fantastic.